Welcome to my channel. My name is Olga, and I help English learners become confident speaking in real-life situations, especially if you're living, working, or studying in New Zealand. Today, I want to share why I can teach you English and what makes me qualified to give advice. I want you to understand where my knowledge comes from and why I know exactly what it feels like to learn English as a second language. I am a qualified English teacher with a graduate diploma in TESOL from Waikato Institute of Technology here in New Zealand. TESOL means Teaching English to Speakers of Other Languages. It's a program that trains teachers to understand how people learn English, how to explain grammar clearly, correct pronunciation, and make lessons practical and communicative. I moved to New Zealand in 2013, and over the years I've worked for several New Zealand companies using English every single day in meetings, emails, interviews, casual conversations. That means I'm confident in both everyday and professional English, not just the textbook kind, but the English you actually use at work, in real conversations, and in daily life. I've also passed both academic and general IELTS exams, and in my last test I achieved the highest band 9 in speaking. So when I share advice, it's based on both academic knowledge and real-life experience. My lessons are designed for learners around the world who want to speak naturally, understand native speakers better, and feel more confident in real-life situations. Not just study grammar rules, but because I live in New Zealand, not in the UK or the US, my English reflects how people actually speak here. Something to keep in mind when you learn English. Every English-speaking country has its own accent, vocabulary, and slang. For example, New Zealanders say togs for swimwear and dairy for a small convenience store. These are everyday words you won't hear much in British or American English. So if you're planning to visit, study, or work in New Zealand, my lessons will be especially helpful. But even if you're not, most of what I teach will still help you speak clearly and confidently in any English-speaking country. But I didn't grow up speaking English. I'm originally from Russia, and I started learning English at school when I was 7. At first it was all the usual stuff, basic grammar, simple vocabulary, nothing too exciting. Then, when I was around 10, I started singing songs in English. And honestly, I think that helped me with pronunciation, rhythm, and just getting the feel of the language. When I was 22, I took my first IELTS exam. It was the academic one because I needed it to study in Germany. My first score was 6.5, which wasn't bad at all. The IELTS certificate is only valid for 2 years, so I had to retake it in 2012 in order to move to New Zealand. My last IELTS exam was in 2018, and I got an overall score of 8, with the highest score 9 in speaking. So I really do understand what it's like to learn English. The confusion, the fear of making mistakes, that feeling of, I understand everything, but I just can't say it. I've been there. And that's exactly why I teach English the way I do. Simple, natural, and practical. The way I wish someone had taught me years ago. Now, as a mom, I get to see how language develops right from the start. My son is grown up bilingual, and it's honestly fascinating to watch how he picks up English every day. At first, babies just listen. They don't understand much, but their brains are tuning in to the sounds of the language. And you know what? It's the same for adults learning English. You need to listen a lot before you start speaking confidently. And repetition is key. The more you hear certain words or phrases, the faster they stick. And what really surprised me is how similar kids' mistakes are to those of second language learners. For example, my son sometimes says rand instead of ran. He adds ed to irregular verbs because he remembered that pattern, and the exceptions take time to sink in. So really, both first-time learners and adults learning English make the same kind of mistakes. It's completely normal and kind of amazing when you think about it. That's why I always say, immerse yourself in English. But don't push too hard. Make it part of your daily life. Listen, repeat, talk to people, and enjoy the process. And from what I've seen, there are actually two main ways people learn a language. The first one is what I call the copy and absorb way. You listen, you imitate, you repeat what you hear. Whole phrases, natural expressions, without worrying too much about grammar. That's exactly how babies learn their first language. They don't think about what a verb is, they just copy what sounds right. And over time, it becomes automatic. Then there is the second way, the study and understand approach. That's when you focus on grammar rules, structure, and all those parts of speech, nouns, verbs, adjectives, and so on. It's great if you want to understand why something is said a certain way, when you want to analyze a certain pattern. And it's common in classroom learning, especially for adults. But here's the thing, you don't need to know grammar terms to speak well. Most native speakers can't explain what a verb or an irregular form is. They just use it naturally. So, which method is better? Honestly, both work. Most people actually use a mix. They imitate real-life English to sound natural, but they also learn a few rules to make sense of it all. So you can choose what direction to take. Copy real speech, or learn the rules and patterns to make sense of it all, or use a mix. When I teach, I focus on speaking, helping you sound natural and confident. I use a communicative, real-life approach, which means we focus on how people actually speak, not just on grammar rules. Whether you are getting ready for IELTS, preparing for a job interview, studying abroad, or just want to become more fluent, my goal is to help you use English comfortably in real life. I really believe the best way to learn is through immersion. Learning to think in English instead of constantly translating from native language. When we translate, we often bring in grammar and patterns from our first language, and that's what causes most mistakes. Your first language can help you understand concepts if you need it, but ideally you want to switch into English mode. Think of it as learning a completely new code, a new system for communication. It's like how babies learn. They see a cat and someone says, "This is a cat." There is no translation. They just understand. If you learn this way, you won't need to translate anymore. You'll simply move between your two languages naturally, without mixing them. And I've seen this happen not only with my son, but also with my students. It's the most powerful way to become fluent. And if you want to know how to start thinking English, I've made a separate video where I explain the exact steps to get there. So that's a little bit about me, my background, my journey, and my approach to teaching English. If you ever felt stuck or unsure how to improve your English, I hope my experience shows you that it's possible and that learning can be enjoyable. On this channel, you will find real-life conversations, tips and tricks to learning English, and practical English for daily life in New Zealand and beyond. If you found this helpful, give this video a like and tell me in the comments what you'd like to learn next. And don't forget to subscribe for more natural English practice and real-life examples. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.